Okay, here we are, day 2, solving rational functions. Rational is just a fancy way of saying ratios, which is a fancy way of saying fractions. Okay, I'm going to skip this first question. I don't even know why it's there. I'm going to jump to this one. So here are the steps you need to do. Find the LCD, the least common denominator. Once you do that, if you multiply every term on both sides by it, all the fractions will go away. And then you have a regular, normal, everyday equation to solve. So that's what we do first. We find our LCD, the least common denominator. So if you're not good at it, you can just start, well, I need a 2 times, I need an x, haven't written that yet, x. I need a 3, and then I get to the last one, x, and I say, wait, I already wrote an x here, so I don't have to write it again. So my LCD is just 6x. Okay, now I'm going to multiply every term by 6x. And I'm going to say 6x over 1, just to make it a fraction, plus 6x over 1 times this equals 6x over 1 times this, plus 3, I'm sorry, had a brain freeze for a moment, 6x over 1 times 3 over x. All right, so now let's cancel. This is the whole point. So 2 goes into 6 3 times. Notice there's only 1's left in the denominator, so that numerator then is just 3x. Plus, this time the x's cancel, so 6 times 2 is 12, equals 3 goes into 6 twice, so 2x times 1 is just 2x. The x cancels with the x. 6 times 3 is 18. So now I solve for x. I'm like, oh, this is easy. Subtract 2x, subtract 12. So x equals 6. The only thing you have to worry about is, does your answer make the denominator 0? And that answer is no, only 0 would make this denominator 0. So if you want to check, I mean, you have to check to make sure the denominator is not 0. But if you wanted to plug it in to the original and say, really, this is the answer? You can say, oh yeah. So if I look at this, 2 over 6 is the same as 1/3. And then 3 over 6 is the same as 1/2. So even if I don't add them all together, I notice that I have the same on both sides. So I know that it's true. So x equals 6. All right, so now this one, I'm going to put this x over 1, this 5 over 1, and I'm going to say, oh, my LCD, there's only one x in the denominator. Everything else is a 1, so the LCD is 1. So I have x times x plus x times 6 over x equals x times 5. So x squared plus these x's cancel. I get 6 equals 5x. And I'm like, oh, yay, a quadratic. So I have to make it equal to 0. This is what we just took a test on. So x squared minus 5x plus 6 equals 0. So factor. So x, they have to both be negative because the last term is positive and the middle term is negative. And I want things that add up to 5. So 2 and 3. So that means x equals 2 or x equals 3. And neither of those make my denominator 0, so I can keep it. And that's it. Those are the easy ones. You had some of these to do in physics. I know this is bringing back some awesome memories from the beginning of the year. But I would do the same thing. I don't know how Mrs. Flanagan did it, but this is how I would do it. I would multiply by the LCD, which is FMP. So I would multiply the first term by FMP, and then the second one by FMP, and then this third one by FMP. This is what I would do. There's lots of different things you can do, but this is what I would do. So the F's cancel, the M's cancel, and the P's cancel. All right, now I'm looking for F. So I have 2 f's over here. I'm going to factor it out and end up with p plus m. And this side is mp. So then just divide by p plus m. And that's your answer. F equals this MP over P plus M. Great. All right, those are the easy ones. These are the ones that are harder, but if you're not taking calculus, you can stop the video now. If you are taking calculus, you probably should pay attention because we're going to do some of this. All right, so I have my LCD. The first thing I would do is factor my denominator here because you can't really decide anything until you factor it and see what you got. Okay, you don't have to factor the numerator. That's not helpful. Just factor the denominator. So as I write this, you're looking at it. This first denominator is m plus 2. The second denominator is m. And this third denominator is m plus 2, m minus 1. So my LCD is going to be m plus 2 from the first denominator. It's going to be m from the second denominator. And from the third denominator, I already have the m plus 2, so I'm not going to write it, but I am going to write m minus 2. So that's my LCD. Not very least, but that's what it is. So I'm going to multiply this by m plus 2, by m minus 2. That's all over 1 times 3 over m plus 2, plus I have m plus 2 times m minus 2 all over 1 times 2 over m equals m plus 2 times m minus 2 times 4m minus 4 over m plus 2 m minus 2. All right, so I cancel the m plus 2's, I cancel the m minus 2's, I'm left with m times 4m minus 4. Okay, this one, the m cancels. I'm going to go ahead and multiply m plus 2 times m minus 2 and call that m squared minus 4, because I still have to multiply that times this 2. Plus this one, my m plus 2's cancel. I'm going to take the 3 and the m and call it 3m parentheses m minus 2. Now I'm going to distribute, so I get 3m squared minus 6m plus 2m squared minus 8 equals 4m squared minus 4m. Again, it's a quadratic. Let's get everything to the other side. This is 5m squared on this side, and then I have 4m squared on this side, so I'm going to subtract 4m squared because I need to make it equal to 0. I'm going to add 4m to make it equal to 0. So I end up with m squared minus 2m minus 8 equals 0. And this I'll always be able to factor. You can use the quadratic formula, but you can always factor it. So m minus 4, m plus 2. So m equals 4 or negative 2. The trouble with negative 2 is negative 2 makes my denominator 0. And I can't have a denominator of 0. So I'm going to throw away my negative 2 answer. So I throw away negative 2, and m is just 4. All right, there's another one there you can try.